So good morning, everybody, and welcome to Healing Numbers Live Numerology Reading. In this hour, our group of 4 readers today, because Dorothy is out, she's not feeling well. We're going to demonstrate that energy remains consistent regardless of any of the modalities that we use. I'd like to introduce the readers. With David Woodbridge, who is an astronumerologist, Kraylin Christensen, who is our tarot card reader. I'm an intuitive numerologist, and Lorelei, our psychic medium, is going to be joining us. Now, it's important to me that I hold a safe and comfortable platform for everybody. We're all on our own journey, but we're all in it together. So please, no judgment on others. It's about kindness and respect. I'm recording this and it'll go on my YouTube channel and my website. So if you're uncomfortable with being on camera, then you can turn your cameras off. And if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the comment field or raise your hands. And Joseph, we like interaction.
Yes.
That makes it fun for us because we pick up on things when you're interacting. Okay, so welcome, Joseph.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. Joseph's questions today are, let's see, what is my next step in my spiritual journey? And will I be relocating? And anything else that we come up with. Good stuff. Good morning, Lorelei.
Good morning. I apologize to all of you.
That's okay. That's okay. We just jumped right in.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, yes. So Kraylin usually draws a card for us, the very first, to get our group going. And this is the card that she drew for us today. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it appears there's going to be a big transformation happening. The death card, generally speaking, when I do readings, does not mean, you're going to be passing on. But what it does mean is that you're going to see a major shift. This is a trump card, so to speak. It's a big lesson thing. And when I look at the card and all the interactions that are going on, to me, it indicates that you're allowing a lot of things that no longer work for you to be gone. You're letting them go so that you can embrace new, whatever's coming up. And, it's a card that you're working on, and it takes a while for the transformation to happen. But there's a lot of movement, as you can see in the background, where I look at different, I tend to think about them as being spirits or whatever, being released so that you have room to expand into new areas. It looks like, big things are going to be on the horizon for you. And this is the overall feeling for this reading.
And that's an amazing card.
It is.
Because Joseph, you're in the 9 personal year. This is about endings and completions and letting go. You're ending a 9-year cycle, getting ready to go into another 9-year cycle with some changes coming in. So spot on, Kraylin, spot on. Yeah. David, you want to jump right in?
Absolutely. Well, good morning, Joseph.
Good morning.
I find, so just a quick thing, what I do is I look at both your numerology chart and information and your astrology. And I kind of play back. It's interesting because we get, as you probably know, you gather the information for each in different ways. But yet they absolutely, much like Kralen's tarot, and everything kind of energy is energy, and it all kind of mixes. And it actually can be very, very, very how should we say? It just really emphasizes everything that's going on. Let's put it that way. So one of the things when I was doing I was looking, so what I do, I start with numerology and I'm looking at your life path and your expression. And basically, you kind of have a bit of a balancing act going on, okay, from what I found. So your life path is your major lesson to be learned in this life. It's your central focus of your existence. It's what you brought in from a previous life as well. In your particular case, I have a life path for you of a 16-7. And so the 7 is a very spiritual number. It's also about analysis. It is very, I have an expression as a 7, so I know it very well. But what's going on with this is you are basically here to lead a spiritual type of life as one emphasis. Okay. Now, your life path is made up of 16. So 1 + 6 is 7. 16 is a karmic debt. And so what's happening here, much like Kralen's card, the 16 is about destruction of the old and the birth of the new. Okay, now this kind of goes around and around and around. So it doesn't necessarily stop. It is a lesson. It is karmic debt. So what does this mean? So I'm gonna go a little bit more into your 7 here, and then we're gonna switch it around a little bit. So one of the things about the 7 and the 16 is you're known as a lone wolf. Basically what that means is you have your own ideas and methods about going about things. You're can be very private. That doesn't mean you're not great with people, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you could be an actor, but you also need to know when to come off the stage and have your alone time to recharge your battery. Okay, so, and I'll come back to your karmic debt in just a minute, but I'm going to switch over quickly, and here we go, to astrology. So your rising sign is Sagittarius, which is fire, okay? And you seem to be a freedom seeker, and that also runs through your numerology. Freedom is important to you. You also, and again, these are all qualities that we have. Remember, we all have a bit of a shadow side, and it isn't necessarily a bad thing. But you can be a little self-righteous, maybe have a very, very positive ego, okay? Potentially even a strong ego, okay? So of many other things. And Joseph, please understand, we all have something like this. So just so you know. But I'm just trying to give you a full rounded information about what I found. Also, back to your numerology, there's something called the expression, and that's a person's potential natural abilities. Yours is a 32-5. So you're great, you're very talented and versatile. You're great with people. You could easily be a salesperson. Okay. You've got very great people skills. You think on your feet. 32 in the ancient realm was called the politician number. It's a vibration. So, okay, think of a politician. You're very much there. You can easily work. Now, here's the rub. Okay. Back to your 16. What your 16 is, basically, as I said, is the destruction of the old and the birth of the new. But it basically requires you, what's happening with this is you're supposed to be getting closer to spirit. It's almost like you're being refined. Okay. Now, when I said initially, you're kind of on a balancing, basically in a balancing act. Okay. Your expression, your fire sign, your sun is in the 8th house of Leo. All are very, very strong ego numbers, right? We're talking fire. Okay. What your life path 16 is saying is your ego is literally, if you let your ego go too far and think in terms of material things or what happened in that realm, it is one of the most harshly and humbling things when you have a 16, because it's going to bring you down. Spirit will always bring you down. What this life path is asking you to do is to get close or have a career or be involved more with your intuition, with your mind, and servicing others. Okay? The challenge with you, and you're wired this way, by the way, is you have a pretty strong ego, which could, and basically, ego is going to, if the egotistical aspect of your life kind of comes through too much, you're going to be knocked down with this number. And this is over and over and over again. again. So looking at that, things like money, for example, can't be your main focus. It can be a sub-focus or a byproduct of the work that you do. But, again, if that's all you're thinking in terms of his material things, this number is going to knock you down, probably. Okay. So you're in a bit of a balancing act, let's just say. So I just wanted to start it that way. I have other things to talk about, but I'm going to let other people speak a little bit. Does that sound somewhat, can you relate to any of that, or?
Yeah, David, you're spot on. And could you kind of speak a little bit more? Because you mentioned about the astrology sign of Taurus. That's kind of the first time I've heard that. Can you?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mention Taurus. I don't have Taurus here.
Okay, my apologies.
Okay. What I said, I'm sorry. So your rising sign is Sagittarius, which is fire.
Okay, there you go.
And it's fire. I mean, it really is, and naturally so, your ego is very much a part of that. Your sun is in the 8th house and it's Leo. Leo is fire. And so that again, and you're here to be creative. Don't think this is bad. It's not a bad thing. It's just that you're actually here to fulfill that karmic debt. And as a 7. And so it's kind of like opposites. So you're really having to do a bit of a balancing act to make this work for you, I would imagine. And again, everyone has something, just so you know. So, okay, but this time around, and we've had another 16 on here before going through similar situations, like this sort of example. But yeah. So, but I'm going to leave it there for now and let some other people talk, and we can come back.
He has a lot of one energy in the letters in your name, Joseph. There's a lot of 1, but there's also a lot of 2s.
Mhm.
So there's a very soft side to you too. So that's a balancing act too, is trying to be in your power, but you have very good negotiating skills and the ability to see both sides to a story. And that 7 is going to pull you into looking at things on a deeper level. I mean, you want to dive deep. It's not when you want something, and it's like numerology. When I had a 7 come into my life at around 50, and that's when I came into numerology and really dove into it. So there's something that the mysteries of life are very you're very curious about. Kraylin, you have your hand up.
I do. I have another card. It's the Queen of Swords. What she represents is a mastery card. And it's about rising above other people, rising above what they're saying, especially if it's negative. Allowing yourself to take the mask off and truly be who you are, and represent that or express that out to people. So this is also more or less a transformational card. If you have not been, or if you've been kind of holding back or portraying yourself a little different than how you really feel inside, now is the time to take that cover off and truly be who you are and start expressing yourself that way with other people. Swords is a mental thing. It's the way you think. So start allowing yourself any kind of negative talk, work on letting that go and start bringing in positive mental images and thoughts about who you are and allow yourself to express that out in the world. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Are you holding things back, Joseph? Are you not expressing yourself like you'd like to?
I think it may be in the context of my work for sure. It's actually interesting that Kraylin brought that up because last night I would just happen to be listening to Air Supply, and and there was one particular song that I actually ended up playing over and over again because it was essentially about being your true self and letting go. So that's it's very interesting that I'm hearing that this morning with Kraylin and the Queen of Swords.
Yeah, yeah, so good, Kraylin, good job.
Mhm.
Lorelai.
Hi, Joseph. Nice to meet you this morning.
Yeah.
How I work well, most of the time, I initially feel into the person's name, not through numerology or astrology or anything. I just kind of go into the name and get a feel for it. So what I felt for you was that you are very much a people person, but do need some of your own time to yourself, that there's an element of being of service, that there is a joyful feeling that is within you, but you've been going through something as of late. And it's almost like a duality between the two feelings going on right now. I got that you were a bit stubborn and a little bit uh, that you can be objective, sometimes too much so though. Okay.
Yeah.
Like almost where you're at the point where you put yourself sitting on a fence or at a crossroad. Okay. And so that's kind of where I felt you were right now, was at that basic crossroad. Now, as far as what was the next step in your spirituality, I felt that it would be very important to self-reflect at this time. And that's not saying that you don't normally, it's just saying a deeper self-reflection, getting to the point of stillness where you can just listen. So all the chatter from everything else just kind of falls away and you can just be. And I felt that just being was extremely important for you. No attachments to a title or to what you think you should be, or how you think you should act, or what your career should be, or what any titles seem to represent. Like if you can take some time to just know that you are very worthwhile just because you are, for no other reason. Okay. Now, I'm just checking if I have anything else on here. Yeah. And once you get to that point, then the other things of how to move forward will come from that very authentic place. Okay. The other thing that I felt was somewhat important was, or might be helpful to you, is either a nature-based spirituality or grounding into nature as part of your spirituality. And I actually have 3 books for you that came to mind, okay?
Okay.
Now, they're each different, but they do talk about connecting to nature. One is called Working Through the Darkness, and it's really, this one here is, I feel like I'm selling books now. This one here is, it'll help you get more into yourself using nature, okay? The other one that is a very short book, but a very powerful book, is The Good Remembering. All right, and that is a message from our times. Both, Lynn Roberts is a teacher on both of them, okay?
Okay.
And the other one I thought you may find interesting was The Shaman's Mind by Jonathan Hammond. And it talks about Huna wisdom. All right.
Okay.
And I think that when there was more information being discussed about the mysteries of life. I can't remember. I think it was Sue that mentioned that, and Krelin touched on something with spirituality. I feel that the nature-based spirituality taps into that mystery. It shows us a whole different way of living. Now, as far as relocating is concerned, I felt that before you do so, it would be really helpful to sit in this stillness for a while. And then once you do, I think the place is going to just more or less show itself to you, if that makes sense. If you're looking at places, that's great. I would look for places though that had nature, a lot of room for you to go hiking or to be in nature or commune with nature, however you want to put it. And then, yeah, I think it might just show up for you. Does that help you at all?
Yes, it does, and I'll definitely take a look at those books. But yeah, I think I've always felt too that need to have a little bit more time with nature, and when you're in bigger cities, right? You're not in rural areas. You kind of detach from the source.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it'll just connect you back to that core spirituality that you might be looking for. So, yeah, if you have any
Yeah.
other questions, just let me know while we're on here. And okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, the spirituality is there, Joseph. It's
Mhm.
just you allowing it to happen, right? Connect to it because it's in your core energy.
Mhm.
You like to move around. You like freedom. So
Yes.
to just completely settle down, I think is going to be hard. Because of your move, and maybe that comes with your job that allows you to be that flexible, but very intelligent. You love to learn. You'll always be digging deeper and deeper into the mysteries of life. Yeah, yeah. And Lorelai's correct. Long time is extremely important to you. And sometimes it's hard to find your people because you want to talk on deeper levels.
Yeah.
Idle chit chat is just like doesn't work. So it's hard sometimes for you to find your people. And with the number 7, it's about learning how to be alone without feeling lonely.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's so important that you keep moving because there's no way that you could sit in a cubicle day after day after day
You got
and
it
do the
right, Phil.
same thing over
Yeah.
and over because
No.
no,
Exactly.
that is
No.
not going to work.
Mhm.
No.
That is not going to work. You have
Yeah.
a heart of gold, a heart of gold. You take on responsibilities. You love, when you love dearly. Your friends are always there. When you make a friend, that friend will be there for a lifetime. There is a lot of creativity within your heart. You do see, you have the ability to use your words and the creativity. And I almost feel like when you connect to spirit is when you're creating, having fun creating something. I don't remember what you do for work. What do you do for work?
Teaching, coaching.
Oh,
Ah,
that's
very
right.
nice.
That's
Yeah.
right. You
I
go
didn't. I know
around.
what.
That's
Thank.
right.
I didn't want to give it away.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
okay.
That's you're right. And that's perfect for you because you go to colleges and scout, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's part
Nice.
of it. Recruiting. Yeah.
Nice.
Ah,
Yeah.
well, you better go find that Kate. That Kate. Although you go to high schools, right? And find the college for
High
colleges.
schools and in youth clubs. Yes.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's cool. So that's perfect for you because you're very good with your words and your intuition kicks in when
Mhm.
you're watching the kids and trying to figure out where they would be best and what they would be doing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Kraylin, you have your hand up.
I do. Another card, another trump card, the moon.
Ooh.
Oh,
Now,
that's nice.
when
Mhm.
you break down, this is an 18. So when you break it down, it's a 9. So this kind of supports your current year. Basically, the moon is about reflection. It's about seeking your softer side. Um, there's symbols of female energy. Obviously, the moon is a feminine energy. But this is going to help you through your transition. I look at it as also being intuitive in nature, allowing yourself to communicate with spirit, um, and expanding that side of yourself. where the Queen of Swords is about mental energy, I feel this is, how do I want to say this? This is a step way above that, in that it allows you to begin to trust what you're hearing. Swords tells you to watch the old messages so that you don't fall back into those. This is about allowing yourself to hear new messages that are expressed from your higher self, so that you can, I want to say, begin to feel. Maybe when you're talking with people, feel more about or get a better clue about what it is they want, so that you could counsel at a higher level than you've been doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, Carolyn. Yeah, it really does.
Isn't it
Okay.
amazing how everything adds up? It just, it always blows my mind. Yeah, also the moon, whenever I think of the moon, I think of the shadow side.
Hmm.
Looking at those things that maybe sometimes we don't want to look at, and reevaluating them, because that's what the 18 is. 18 is all about massive reevaluation. 1 and 8 are the two strongest numbers in numerology, whereas 9 is the humanitarian. So there's a lot of evaluation going on within that. And the interesting thing about that, your pentacle, which you're going into in 2025, is the 18-9.
Mhm.
Massive reevaluation. Yeah.
I have a question, if I may, for the group. I have noticed that there has been a lot of time devoted to self-reflection. How do I balance that out in my current situation, which does require me to have a bit more of a 9 to 5 mentality? And we've had a recent change in our leadership, that's taken over our department. So finding that balance, and our energies, I feel like, aren't really compatible at the moment. I'm open, obviously. I'm a people person. I'm really open to relationships and working together, and because it's a team environment. But how do I balance that? And what's coming? I mean, I think everyone's been spot on here. But how am I balancing that moving forward during kind of this transition of reflection and spiritual development, and about me in terms of just growing, right? And then obviously being part of the 9 to 5 world, navigating that as well.
Well, if I may, I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and start
Yeah.
the ball rolling in that arena. So, Joseph, part of this is, and when we say a 9-year, your job right now is to close doors, to clean out, to anything that you're working on that needs to be completed, you got to get it done. I'm also in a 9-year, by the way. Your 9-year will run until your next birthday. Okay, so you have some time here. I mean, and part of this is reflecting on all that's happened for the previous 9 years, as well as, basically tying everything up. So it's really not, as far as the balancing act, well, I see for you that, once you when you're looking at these things and you're really closing out, what you have here supports a few things as well. Now, in a 9-year, it's not really the time to start something new, but that doesn't mean you can't educate yourself. That doesn't mean you can't plan. That doesn't mean that you can't, you can be working toward what this transition is for you. And I do see a transition. Your physical transit is an E, and that does support in this coming year at some point a change in career, potential travel, and a potential new residence as well. So all of that is there for you. But I think, as Lorelei says, right now it's a time just to be. And part of this is bringing this in, and the balance, I think, if you're not doing so, we've talked about this before in the past with others, you know, it's probably a pretty good time to journal a little bit about your feelings, about your situation, and that type of thing. Now, having said that, one of the things in numerology that I do that is very telling is you can look at your first letter of your name and your first vowel. Okay, believe it or not. And so you're with Joseph, it's J, and that is a leadership number. Actually, it's the 10th, which goes down to a 1, as Sue has said. You know, that's a 1 is you have a lot of 1s. You're very much a leader. But there's also with a J, you know, you might be a little indecisive about what you're doing. And that's kind of coming through as well, just a little bit. Not to say, again, this is how you're wired. Leadership comes in many forms. And you also have a lot of twos, as you know, as I read, your birthday's a 2, okay? 2 is the number, one of the things when it comes to leadership with a 2, it's also a diplomatic number. So a lot of your leadership skills along this line could very well be done diplomatically with others. Not so much, you know, the guy with the sword at the front of the room saying this is how it's going to be, but hey, let's all work together. I have an idea that I think will work for the group, that type of thing. So I think this is just, quite frankly, a time for you to kind of take a minute and really reassess everything, which it sounds like you're doing now, because here's the clinch in all this. You know, really look at this really pretty good, because when you get to a 1 year on your birthday, it's really like a race. All of a sudden, what has been so slow, everything's going to start hitting you left and right, and you're going to have to be ready to kind of take that, so to speak, right? So don't so much, you know, from a balance perspective, I think you need definitely, after a day that you have in what you're doing, time alone, time to meditate, time to review. Really do some planning on next steps, start researching that. A 7 does that very well. Keep what you've got from personality, you know, the ego, what have you, in check. And I think if you can do those things, quite frankly, you're going to start your 1 year pretty well, from what I can see here. I am going to go, since I'm talking real quick, back to your astrology for a minute. My friend, you have a yod in your charts. So that's the finger of God. And we all, some of us here, I know Dorothy and I have it too, but what that means is you are here for a particular reason. Okay, this isn't just a skip through life. You're definitely, there's a purpose and a reason and a guiding force in your life here. And so what do I mean by that? Basically, as time goes on, and your job is, with everything put together, is to get closer to spirit, to use your intuition. Now, you're 37, correct? Yeah, you're 37. So you're at the tail end of working on your personal self. I mean, we're getting closer here to 45, right? You get to that point in your life, and now you're going to be working on what you're supposed to be here for. Okay, so I would say have a little patience. Really, if you kind of follow the 9-year, you know, basic idea, you really should be, this should be review, meditate, prepare, get ready, look at ideas, do research. But basically, you know, you're not at an action point at this point, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Okay, so that's,
Yeah,
okay.
and if you do hindsight, last year was all about work. It was all about, it was very strong energy, and it was about movement and climbing the ladder and making money and all the tangible things in life. So the feeling of wanting to be more connected, the lower energy that's coming in is that 9 energy. That's what's directing you to settle down a little bit and reevaluate things. And like David said, it's about purging as much as you possibly can, because the more that you can purge mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, this year that's no longer serving your greatest and highest good, will let that door open even more wider in the 1 year. So there's a lot that goes on. I also am in the 9 years, so High five, everybody.
There we go.
We're all releasing.
Oh,
You know, and a lot of times people, they fear that. They don't want change. They don't want to let go. But thank goodness that we have this energy that pushes us to do that, because we hold on to things way too long. And we can't grow. And it's
Mhm.
about letting go of projects, old habits, attitudes, all those things that, and you can't do that when you're going 100 miles an hour. This is why
Mhm.
the energy is slowing us all down, is so that we can look at it and say, okay, that's really not doing me any good. I've got to somehow get rid of that part of it and keep some of it, whatever. But this is what this whole year is about.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Was last year really busy for you?
yeah, it was busy and lots of transitions and
Yeah.
yeah. So what a year.
Right,
What a
Yeah.
year.
right.
Yeah.
So that's why it's feeling so different to you right now. And that's why it's wonderful that you're here listening to this. So now that you understand it, it's going to be with you. So now you can lean into it. And I
Mhm.
agree with Lorelei 100% that you being outside is huge. It's huge for you. Yeah,
Yep.
anybody be outside, but some numbers say it more than others. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's important to you. Yeah. Kraylin?
Yep, I have I guess it's the final card for me to be reading today, but it is another sword, mental energy. This is what I call a stepping stone. It's kind of a smaller lesson. It happens a lot faster than, a trump card. And this is the Six of Swords. It's about science, which kind of translates into the way you analyze things. There are 6 different swords that are all pointed to the center. And you'll see that there is more or less a gold cross here and a lotus, which is about perfection. Lotus comes up from the darkness. It comes up from the mud and it makes this beautiful flower. So you're dredging into the darker corners and trying to figure out, okay, how do we lighten these up? You start with your science. You start analyzing it systematically. However, you bring in your spiritual side and that light of perfection to be able to the word morph comes into mind,
Mhm.
or transition your logical self into the spiritual. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. Spending a lot of time with that. It seems like a lot of my attention is going into that piece. But like you said, integrating the spiritual, which obviously must continue to focus on as well.
All righty
That
then.
doesn't have to be your last card, Kraylin. If you spirit
Yeah,
moves you to draw, keep them coming. We
hidden
like
gem.
it.
We'll
The
wait for
other-
you to get more coffee.
My cup is almost empty.
The other thing too, which is interesting, because numbers and letters are symbols, right? So
Mhm.
when we write the number 9, it's in its head, right? And it's looking to the past. So there's a lot of times this year, the past is going to be swung back around so that you're going to have to reevaluate it and look it in the face and say, okay, I need this or I don't need this.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember that. And it's so important. The 9 energy is lower energy, and you just have to respect that. It's okay. It's okay. It's not fast paced like last year. It won't be. And the 1 year, 2025 is going to be very fast. So let it be. Let it be. Yeah. Lorelei?
Yeah, that let it be is huge. Like that just summed up almost everything that I've
Yeah,
been thinking.
yes.
The other thing I would say is, okay, I know we've been talking about some shadow stuff and the resistance, etc. Sometimes the biggest gifts can be in those times. Sometimes that can take our life in a totally new direction. It can kind of spin us around and point us somewhere we hadn't been thinking of. Or the other thing that it can do, and may I ask, are you feeling a bit of duality, a pull towards this or that?
That's a great question. I think in terms of my current work, there is a pull away. Yeah.
Okay, because what I was
Not
going to
necessarily, I
say,
think the assignment, not to cut you off, not necessarily I enjoy, and Sue knows this too, I enjoy what I do. It's just maybe this particular arrangement, there is kind of a pulling away, kind of a phasing out. Yeah.
well, because what I was going to say is instead of if you can get a little bit curious about what the duality is doing, it might just refine. Like spirit might be trying to refine where you're going. So it'll throw in a little duality and then you'll balance out a bit. And then there'll be more of something, maybe some resistance or circumstance. I think you're actually being guided to where you need to be. But
Yeah.
I think it's difficult to trust the unknown sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
what the next step will be. I truly feel you will be fine. But I do feel that you are moving towards something different, okay?
Mhm.
And the other thing that kept coming up while people were talking was the word symbol or symbolism. Start paying attention to the symbols around you. Like if you are seeing something or hearing a conversation or whatever, and it seems to be the same theme over and over again, I would
Mhm.
suggest that you sit with that a while.
Right.
And as far as the meditation and stuff, if standard meditation doesn't work for you, then go do walking meditation or go
Okay.
do another type of meditation, right?
Uh,
Like
Yeah.
something so that all those needs are being met, but maybe in a way that you feel is unique or that fits into your 9 to 5 schedule on top of it. So does that make sense to you? What I'm
Yeah.
trying to explain? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what
All
comes
right.
to me is that song that you kept hearing over and over, and you kept wanting
Yeah.
to hear
Yeah.
the lyrics to that song.
Yeah.
That was resonating. There was something going on there. That's what
Right.
Lorelai's speaking about. That's what
Yeah.
she's saying. Those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Pay attention to those. Why are
Mhm.
those coming in, and why do they mean so much? It
Mhm.
might not be obvious at the time. That's why David say journaling and keeping those notes so that you can look back. It's really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to get back to that. And thanks, David, because I do, and I got to get back to that of journaling and the affirmations, and it has been helpful. And L'Oreal, right? That's how you pronounce it.
Lorelai.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Lorelai.
Yeah, that's all
Thank
right.
you. Yeah, the walking meditations. I think those are important. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Oh, look, Craylin's got another card for
Ooh.
us. Yay.
And this one is a 2. Again, it's a stepping stone. 2
Mhm.
of Wands. Wands is spiritual. The 2 is a progression after 1. But basically, what this card is about is you've got Aries and Mars. So this is supporting all that fire energy that you have in your chart. It's saying, don't forget the fire, allow yourself to feel the burn, so to speak, as to being a direction, because this is spiritual, as a sign, I want to say light your fire in your choices. Let that fire energy come up to allow yourself to know what direction to take, or what dominion you want to be in. This is about dominion and finding your place. It is a stepping stone, so this will help you transform over this next year in
Mhm.
paying attention to where your spiritual side is setting you on fire, can be pointing the direction that you need to be headed.
Hmm.
Does
There
that
you
make
go.
sense?
Wow.
It's
Wow.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome. This is awesome. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that
Mhm.
wonderful? Wonderful.
Mhm.
I believe that by the end of this year, you're going to be able to understand better the direction that you want to go in. October, November, and December, there's an undercurrent there. And this could bring in a change of environment.
Mhm.
I almost think, Joseph, that there's something, even though this is a year of letting go, there's something new coming in. And it could be the way you're thinking about things or processing things, and that's going to be April. There's an undercurrent that I see April, May, and June that's going to support that. And I almost feel like this is around work. But I think by October, November, and December, you're going to know, you're going to be looking at things in a totally different perspective.
Mhm.
But again, I think that it all boils down to you finding that balance for yourself, for that. I don't know if it's getting up earlier in the morning and having that extra hour just to sit in your chair and write and just, process what's going on around you, or that hour after work where you can get out and walk. I don't know, you're going to have to figure that one out, but I do think that this is going to be, the 9-year always signifies that we're usually changing into another arena of things going on. And the other thing too is you started this in 2016.
Mhm.
So, look back, look at the growth and
Mhm.
pat yourself on the back, right? Where
Yeah.
for some reason we don't seem to, we look at the things that we didn't do or we should have done, and look at the things you did. I mean, a lot of things happened in that 9 years. That's just progressing you to the next cycle, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I heard something the other day I thought was very good. She said, when was the last time you told yourself you're enough? Think about that one, huh?
Yeah.
Because you are enough, right? You're a spiritual being. We are enough, and we're on this journey, and it's all good. Just sometimes difficult. Sometimes the experiences are a little bit harder, but
Mhm.
I think this will be a good year. I do think there's new ways of thinking about things
Mhm.
coming in, but that's slowing down.
Mhm.
David, you got anything else you'd like to say?
I do have a question, Joseph. So, we talked about your big question was what are the next steps on your spiritual journey? Are you focusing on any type of modality whatsoever?
Can you kind of more dissect that when you use that term modality?
Oh, okay. So I do numerology, astrology. There's, obviously spiritual
Reiki.
Reiki.
Oh yeah, I
Reiki.
love Reiki. I love Reiki, and so that's been yeah, those type of modalities have been on the radar for a few years now. I've been leaning more into it. So yeah, I do
Okay.
love Reiki.
Can I jump in there just for a moment?
Please.
Yeah.
If you like nature, if you are very nature bound and you like Reiki, you may want to consider shamanic Reiki. I've taken it for years. David's taken it. It is a nature-based Reiki. It might be something you enjoy, just as a suggestion.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anything shamanic, you might
Yeah.
really enjoy.
Mhm.
I mean, that's really quite a practice to be able to bring in nature.
Yes. Yes. Well, the reason I asked that is I just didn't know if you were thinking in terms of going down that road of maybe being, like a Reiki master yourself, or is that in the works type of thing? Just as one example.
I wouldn't rule it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
wouldn't rule it out. I think, yeah.
Yeah, because going back to your life path, I mean, your life path is really asking you to go down the spiritual route in
Mhm.
whatever format that is for you. Okay. And that's where, the more you can, and I'm not saying you should be doing everything we just discussed in your 9 year, but part of that might be, if you were to take further steps, and I know that's what you're asking us, but in your life path, this is where you're being asked by spirit to go. So just to let you know, I've said this in other, of our time together here for other people, your best approach is to play the hand you've been dealt. Okay. When we don't do that, that's when a tougher life usually comes about.
Right.
So,
Because
and
we're off
also,
our path. We're
exactly.
off the path, and then the
Yes.
resistance comes in. Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I mean that's really your best life, and if you don't play the hand you're dealt, it can be very very tough, and
Right.
you'll repeat it the next one. So, it's that type of thing. So I would just say to you, for what you need, that would be a good approach.
The other thing is the 9 year brings in spiritual teachers. So
Mhm.
always keep your eyes open.
Oh,
There might not be a guru, might not be, just being with all of us is spiritually teaching you. So
Mhm.
there could be some opportunities that come up. And I would grab them and learn a little bit deeper on different levels. Yeah.
Mhm.
If all of us, I've studied so many things, Lorelei, David, Kraylin, we all have studied so many things. It took us a while till we got where we really wanted to, where we were supposed to be. But those are all tools in our toolboxes. And we
Yeah.
can pull them out whenever we
Mhm.
need to share or use them ourselves, yeah. All right, Kraylin. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Joseph, you're honestly just getting started. So
Right.
it's the latter part of life when everything kind of hits the road, when you're finally doing. So don't feel like you're, needed to necessarily get, everything should be done at this point. So
Right, because from approximately birth till the 45, we're working on the personality side.
yeah.
45 and older, we're going into the spiritual side of life. So this is why it's feeling you're getting anxious. It's there, you want it. Yeah.
Well, I'm a young man still, so there's no
Yeah.
rush.
Oh,
There's,
yes, very
there's
much
no
so.
rush.
But it's
I'm gonna be around
there.
for a long time. I've been around for a long time. I've been talking.
Right. Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. Kraylin?
I don't actually have a card this time, but I did
Oh.
want to just bring up the thing about Reiki. I am a traditional Reiki master teacher. Not that I have been teaching for the last number of years because I've been focused on other things. But in doing Reiki, you don't necessarily need to go out and practice Reiki on others. It's really beneficial to be able to run Reiki for yourself
Yes,
and
yes.
keep that spiritual connection. So
Mhm.
don't limit yourself just because you think, well, if I do this or if I, become a master or whatever, you don't actually have to, build an active practice, working on others. Initially, it's great because it's teaching you how to draw in the energy and use it. But I run Reiki 24/7. It's one of the things I do to keep spiritually connected, even though, I don't do it often. I may send Reiki, over the wave, so to speak, to other people. I used it with my mom when she was going through her transition. But primarily now I use it for myself.
Mhm. Yeah,
So hopefully that's helpful.
yeah. Joseph, do you have any questions for us?
One particular, I think the past few months, there's been some changes with family. I know you guys didn't talk about it. But if you're getting any readings or feelings on that, there's been some big surprises, I guess, that have kind of,
I was, in February, there was something unexpected that came
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Let's see, so being in the 9 years, asking you to reflect on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some, and it's also the humanitarian year too, right? So it's asking you to do selfless service. So I don't know if there's people reaching out, needing you, or asking for your help.
Mm-hmm.
Can I jump in for a
Please,
second?
please
Is that
do,
okay?
please do.
Okay, so what happened to me before I went really on, when I really stepped into the spiritual side of my life, is that every single one of my family members got sick with strange, bizarre illnesses or mental illness issues, physical. My sister ended up with a tumor in her jugular. We had brain tumors show up, like all this stuff. Well, eventually what happened is I really think it put me on the path because I wanted to help my family. And I think and my family, a lot of the things that we did wasn't receptive to normal Western medicine or, the just the concepts that we have in the Western world. So it really forced me to go out and look at different things. So sometimes when something like that happens, it's that little nudge for us to get to where we need to go. I know that doesn't specifically answer with regards to how your family will be and everything, but it may be an indication that if you are supposed to be on a path and this is going to push you there, that you take that step, okay? Even though it's kind of the unknown. And that might be the other part of it. It's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, okay? Because I feel that you yourself may have that as a gift to share with others, but also going into the unknown. It's like an element of trust. If you're asking to move forward in your spiritual path, then they may be saying, okay, we're going to move you forward into the unknown. At one point in my life, I asked, I suggest you do not do this. I said, okay, let everything out of integrity fall away. And everything out of integrity fell away. And it was a good portion of my life very quickly. But it did, like, that was a harsh way to do it. But it did all of a sudden, and I had to sit with myself. I had to sit in silence. And I'd suggest if you haven't done that for a while, take one day where you turn everything off and see how uncomfortable that feels.
Yeah.
Because that also will bring up some thoughts that might be worthwhile looking at and may actually really direct you. But yeah, it's that getting uncomfortable, being okay with being uncomfortable in the unknown. And so I hope that helps you, because our family is one of the things that really brings us to our knees very quickly.
Oh yeah.
And so if you're asking to be taken on a new spiritual path, that's probably one of the quickest ways for you to get there. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When it hits home close with, family members, parents with health that just came out of nowhere, and different changes, it really brings attention. Yeah.
That was good, Lorelei.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. It's so true. The other thing too, Joseph, is our guides and angels and spiritual beings, they can't help us unless we ask. So it's
Yeah.
important to ask. It's
And
important
that's,
to,
yeah. And I agree, Sue. And it does seem sometimes that I'm on the island and I do ask for the spiritual guides and the ancestors. And so there is a deep yearning for that direction.
Mhm.
You know, and we're gonna work it out. You know, it's just a problem. We're gonna work it out.
right, most
Can I
definitely.
just intercede real quick because I know we gotta go. Joseph, nothing is ever a mistake. Okay. So nothing happens just by happenstance with this. So I would just say to you, I mean, you are definitely here for a purpose. You have these skills and these characteristics for a reason. You got a yacht like the rest of us. So there is a spiritual connection there that will happen. So just know you're on the right road. Let's put it that way. And you are definitely going to get there. It'll be interesting to see how things turn out for you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Joseph, so much for being with us. It was really fun.
Thank you guys. Thank you. It's been great.
So I want to thank you all so much for coming. Again, if you're interested in contacting one of the readers, it will be all their information will be in the description below the YouTube video. I'll make sure that you get the link. Yes, and our next person who we're reading for is Suzanne. She's from Maine. March 2nd, and she's a writer. Feels like she is into a writer's block. So she wants some help, see what's going on with that. And she also has relationship questions. So again, let us all be the light for those who feel like they're in the dark. Stay grounded and do something really kind for somebody, big or small, doesn't matter. So I'll see everybody in a couple of weeks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Joe.